Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents A Dream Before Dawn by Casey Kingmaker, narrated by Meghan Kelly. 1. I had to imagine that waterboarding was quite painful. At least it looked that way to me, watching him sputter and gasp to try to keep from suffocating as the water soaked through the thin linen draped over his face, his mouth sucking in and wheezing with choking, drowning coughs. I couldn't help but flinch at the violent reaction. I could have never seen this path for me, from malnourished dumpster diver of the fringe to rebellious surrogate mother to academic torturer. But here I was, with my brother Gideon, as we witnessed Professor Lance Godric being brought to the brink of death. After he attacked Rada's home, helped kill her, and tried to steal our babies, Faith and Abel, I'd put a stop to him with a single well-placed punch to the throat. Granted, his mission had been a success. His subordinate, or accomplice, Darren Nacht, had run off into a portal with the children. I still fumed over the fact that I'd trusted Darren Nacht, the tutor from Briarwitch Academy the faculty had forced on me to help hone my magical abilities. I'd let the bastard roam freely in my mind, for fuck's sake, and he'd discovered everything about me. Because he was so insidious and mysterious, Darren Nacht arguably scared me even more than Lance Godric did. And I'd seen Lance Godric kill people. Multiple people. His being an esteemed professor at Briarwitch pissed me off, and it left a black mark on the whole academy, in my opinion. I felt justified that I'd taken him down. Although, in hindsight, I probably should have aimed my punch elsewhere. Crunching the cartilage in his neck and dislodging his Adam's apple had taken a couple weeks for him to recover enough to simply talk again. And time was of the essence. Even now, I had no idea where Faith and Abel were, and every time I thought about how scared and alone and vulnerable they must be feeling, my hands bunched into white-knuckled fists, and I wanted to punch something hard. After me, my tiny courageous friend, little Ricky, and Sadie Reinhardt, of all people, took Lance Godric down. We stuffed him into the basement of Rada's house. We shackled him to a sturdy pipe, bound his hands together, and wrapped them in thick duct tape so he couldn't do any somatic magic trickery, and gagged his mouth so he couldn't do any verbal magic trickery. Then we left him there, grueling and whining through the duct tape. At first, my anger fueled me, and I didn't feel the least bit sorry for him. The man was a murderer, an arsonist, and these were his just desserts. Giddy and I would sneak over to the house from the fringe, about a football field away, every day to give him some water and food. Eventually, he started to croak, then rasp, and then he could talk again in a gravelly voice. Thank God, too, because the break between terms at Briarwitch was short, and we needed to get to business before my sophomore year started. Chop chop, Godric. Get that throat healed so I can break it all over again if you give me one misleading answer. I still didn't feel sorry for the sack of shit, no matter how downtrodden he looked. I could tell Gideon didn't feel my same level of hatred, but he also hadn't seen the things I'd seen Lance Godric do firsthand. To Gideon, I imagined I looked like a raving lunatic, and he was worried Briarwitch Academy had turned his sister into the very thing I'd feared from the beginning. A crazed magical super soldier with no empathy. An abnorm. But that couldn't be further from the truth. I felt a burning need to get Faith and Abel back in my arms, and Lance Godric was our only ticket to uncovering the mystery. I also felt a burning need to get myself back into the arms of Malachi, my nomadic werewolf lover from Briarwitch, but that wasn't going so well. I hadn't been able to reach him since the term ended, and that was nearly a month ago. He was obviously at peace with himself out there in the wild, doing nomad things with nomad people, and God only knew what else. Ugh, everything was pissing me off these days. The thing pissing me off the most was that we hadn't learned anything new. Even when Lance Godric started talking again, he didn't give a shit. Thus, waterboarding. Drastic times, right? Giddy had been opposed to it, of course. I called him a pussy, seeing as that he always acted so militaristic and stern, but when push came to shove, he was folding like a cheap suit. He said we needed special training to do something this gnarly, that we weren't special ops or anything, and we were just as likely to kill Godric as get information from him and blah, blah, blah. I couldn't be bothered.
"You've watched too many war documentaries and spy movies, sis,"
he told me. But I needed answers, goddammit, and I would do whatever it took to get them.
"Where the fuck is Faith and Abel?"
I shouted at Lance as I yanked him up by his collar into a sitting position. He was on a wooden bench, now drenched and waterlogged, still reeling and gasping for breath. His face was wet, his beaked nose flaring, his beady eyes wide with fear. He tried to say something and made a pleasant barfing face, then spewed up more brackish water on himself. His clothes were also soggy, and I wasn't feeling inclined to get him dry garb. He'd have to stew in that shit all night. Maybe I am getting a teensy tiny bit vindictive. I shook the thought aside, my brows arching dangerously.
"What the hell did your subordinate do with them? Where did Darren Knock take my babies?"
I shook him by the collar, watching as his head flopped back and forth, his eyes spinning wildly in his head. Gideon put a hand on my shoulder, trying to calm me.
"Dee, come on. This isn't the way."
I spun on him with the fury of a mother scorned, shoving his hand aside.
"This is the way, Giddy."
He must have seen something malevolent in my eyes, because he just gulped and shrank back. I sighed heavily. I turned my wrath back on my prisoner, but my overbearing anger was waning. I could only keep it up for so long before tears threatened to replace it, and that would do me absolutely no good. I needed to be strong for the kids. Lance Godric was finished convulsing and writhing in pain. He was finished dry heaving. Now he just looked at me with a helpless gaze. He croaked, trailing off. I leaned in closer, eyes widening, my shocked expression begging him to continue.
"I can't tell you. I'm sorry. It would place too much in jeopardy."
I scoffed, then hocked a loogie on the cement ground next to his bench. Even I wasn't shameless enough to spit in the guy's face. I mean, I might have spit on someone like Anvil Steele, but only if he asked for it, like literally asked for it, which would mean we were getting into some kinky shit and... Tossing aside my roaming filthy thoughts, I returned to the task at hand.
"What the hell does that mean? Are you so evil that you'd sacrifice innocent children's lives for your grand schemes?"
I was baffled, but I shouldn't have been. Lance Godric was straight up wicked.
"There's no winning. I'd just be sacrificing others' lives in place of theirs,"
he said, shaking his head as he stared at the bench between his legs. I tilted my head. That rattled me even more, because it almost sounded like he was trying to justify himself, like he was on the precipice of... atoning? Acceptance?
What do you mean?
He stared up at me with his dark red-rimmed eyes.
"I don't have any grand schemes, Miss Rose."
Flaring my nostrils, I shook my head.
"Bullshit!"
"I can't tell you what you want to know."
He slumped and started to lean back onto the bench.
"So if you need to keep punishing me for that, go ahead. I suppose I deserve it."
"Maybe I should just kill you instead," I snapped. Gideon gasped. After a moment, Lance sighed and nodded from his reclined position. He looked resigned to that fate and accepted it matter-of-factly.
"It would be doing me a service."
Anger coursed through my brain, distorting my thoughts until I could only see red.
"Oh, hell no, motherfucker! You don't get to throw yourself a pity party. You don't get to try to martyr yourself like you're not the twisted villain in this scenario. Dawn!"
Gideon yelled, and this time I listened, stopping myself mid-diatribe. I turned to him sharply, my eyes losing focus.
"Let's go upstairs and get a sandwich. Let things cool off a bit, yeah?"
He put his strong arm around my shoulder, and I shriveled up inside there, letting him guide me up the rickety wooden stairs to the first level of Rada's house. Godric's hands were bound behind him, so I wasn't worried of him escaping. I felt like a small child as we reached the top of the stairs and sunlight blasted in through the nearby windows. I'd forgotten it was only mid-afternoon. Being in the dark, dank basement made everything seem like a horror movie. In fact, I was pretty sure all this tough talk and torturing was stemming from my own fear more than anger. At the end of the day, I was worried for those kids, and I felt it was my responsibility to find them. I didn't know how to increase the pressure on Lance Godric short of freaking killing him. What would James Bond or John Wick do in a situation like this? Shit. Giddy was right. I had seen too many damn movies. What if we never get the information we need from Lance Godric, Giddy? I asked, my voice meek and pathetic. I was still tucked in his arm like a timid little girl as he walked me to the kitchen, but at least Gideon was making me feel protected.
I don't know, Donnie. Maybe we need to start asking around, you know? But sly about it. Perhaps we have some professional interrogators and punishers in the fringe?
I chuckled as we separated, then leaned up against the frame of the entryway and rested my head on it while Gideon went scavenging through the cupboards for food.
Shit,
he added.
I'm guessing half the adults in the fringe have a rap sheet, and the kids too.
My chuckle turned into a laugh, and I clutched my sides. He turned with a sly smile on his face, evidently pleased that he had flipped my mood. Well, I mean, little Ricky did stab the motherfucker in the back, I said, controlling my giggles. That's gotta count for something, right?
Exactly. I teach him how to stab with the pointy end of a spear, and the next thing you know, bam, little Ricky is Rotten Ricky the Ripper.
I started to smile, but it faltered. Gideon was spreading some peanut butter on some hard bread. Where he'd found the bread was anyone's guess. I wish I could talk to Harper, I said. He didn't look up.
Your other friend?
Fae friend, Giddy, but yes.
Right. Not to be a dick, but what the hell could she do? Invoke the fear of God into his heart?
I snorted. More like the fear of Satan, the way that little goth dresses up. But no, I don't know. I just feel like she could help clear my head. He licked some errant peanut butter off his finger while shaking his head.
Nah, you know who I think we need? That other. The bad bitch.
Smirking, I said. Sadie the sadist? The one who helped us put him down there? Yeah, that could work. She's as devious as they come.
Yeah, see? We're not cut out for all this evil torture-y shit, Dee. We're too good.
And humble.
Right. Too good and humble.
Neither of us spoke for a moment as we tried to hold in our chortling. Gideon slapped together the 3 separate sandwiches and handed me one. As I took it, I said, You liked Sadie, huh? Her big tits and swinging hips and all?
Hey, I'm not attracted to every dominant bimbo that waltzes in here.
I leaned forward, my face scooting closer to him as I took a bite of my Sammy. I feel a big butt coming on. He frowned.
A big butt is right. I mean, come on. Of course I thought she was hot to trot. Who wouldn't want to hop on that?
I threw my head up and laughed fully, almost spewing chunky peanut butter all over the place. Once I had finished chewing and wasn't in fear of dying, I said, I knew it. Geez, Broham, if you remember correctly, it wasn't that long ago you couldn't even talk to girls. His eyes narrowed.
What's your point?
I shrugged. Oh, nothing. You've just grown up, I guess. I just hope I wasn't the one to corrupt you. He scratched the back of his head.
You might have had something to do with it.
I eyed the 3rd sandwich sitting on the counter. Is that for our prisoner? Gideon frowned and nodded.
Ugh, I can't believe we have a prisoner. This is just weird.
I snatched the sandwich and started walking toward the staircase leading to the basement. Thanks for making me feel better, big bro, I said, slapping him hard on the back. He coughed mid-chew and nodded. Oh, and by the way, I said at the top of the stairs, I guarantee you'd really like Harp, too. I waggled my eyebrows at him, then left him standing at the top of the stairs as I descended. His voice bounced off the walls on my way down.
Wait, Dee. What the hell does that mean?
2. a voice yelled happily at me. I thought I was dreaming, but I couldn't be sure. Harper? Is that you? Yes. What brings you here? She asked. Where is here, exactly? Am I dreaming? She made a sound in her throat, in my head. I just figured this was your mind-seer abilities. Oh, right, I said. But how? I mean, I was thinking about you before going to sleep and... Ah! Get out of my head! Stranger danger! Stranger danger! A new squeaky voice screamed, startling me. Callista? You too? I was sufficiently flummoxed. Yeah, Harper said. It's Callie. I let her stay with my family during the term break. By the spirits, Callie wailed. We're not even at Briarwitch, and yet you hellions are haunting my dreams now? No, my nightmares. This is a nightmare. I thought Callista was overreacting a wee bit. Stay back, slave owners. I'm no one's henchwoman on my own time. Whoa, Callie, harsh, I said. So, what? Is this like a psychic Zoom meeting? A what? Harper asked. Never mind. Oop, we lost Callie, she said. What do you mean, lost her? She hung up. Poof. She can do that? I asked. Harper giggled in response. I guess, silly. How am I supposed to know the rules of mind-walking? Anyway, what's up? Aw, you were thinking about me? That just clicked. I blushed in my dreamscape. Well, you know, bestie's got a bestie. I, was wondering something. Well, she asked. Spit it out, Dee. It's not like you to get all shy on me. She was right. What's the best way, in your opinion, to torture someone? A moment of silence. I probably could have worded that better, I said. After skipping a short beat, she went on. Who are we torturing? Lance Godric. Excellent! She squealed, and I thought I heard her clap her hands. It was strange because, unlike my usual mind-walking, nothing associated with my abilities was working here. I was seeing black, like I was dreaming, rather than seeing out of Harper's eyes. I figured the Fae realm probably had some kind of veil or protective barrier I couldn't see through, mind-walking or otherwise. For some reason, this didn't feel quite right. Well, there's the obvious way, she said, snapping me back to attention. Huh? I said. Make it obvious for me, Harp. Her airy chuckle rang out. Well, you could do exactly what you're doing now, but to him, right? Her answer melted my mind. Oh, shit! Why didn't I think of that? Bestie's got a bestie, right? You're amazing, Harp, I said gleefully, with pseudo-evil schemes already coming together in my mind. I couldn't wait for it to be morning. Giddy and I had tried the rest of the day to get something out of Lance, but nothing had worked. We laid off on the waterboarding for a bit, seeing as that it was doing nothing but slowly killing him. Obviously, we needed the bastard alive, for now. Then I thought, why wait till morning? Yeah, good question, Harper said. I forgot she was still in my mind. Or was I in hers? I'll talk to you soon, babe, I said. Good, she replied. Don't forget I'm coming to visit soon. You are? Yeah, silly, remember? My eyes snapped open. I was in my little homestead in the fringe. The wind howled through the cracked window above my head, and my eyes zeroed in on the stucco ceiling. I jumped up, threw on some warm clothes and my LA Rams jacket, then hustled outside. The door to Gideon's room was closed, so I was sure he was still asleep. From the house, I crept through the silent fringe. It was spooky this late at night, and not only because I lived in a freaking dystopian society. Looking up at the starry purple night, I figured it must have been close to dawn. Within an hour, the gray of morning would leak in, pushing away the night sky. I slipped through the outer boundary of the fringe, heading toward Rada's house. I quickly remembered the last time I'd ventured out on my own, when I'd ended up on Vaughn's with Malachi almost killing me, and I shivered. Oh, how I miss Malachi and his warm embrace, his tender touch, sad eyes, and the way our bodies fit perfectly together. But I couldn't think about him right now. I was too focused on doing some dark shit. I made it to Rada's without incident, then squeezed in through the plywood door Gideon had crafted. The flimsy door fenced off the giant hole that had been blown through the front when the turned, Godric, and Darren Noct attacked the mansion. It had actually been Rada that caused the outward explosion, before arriving on the porch like a gray-haired goddess in a tornado with blazing white eyes. After her death, we had given her, or what was left of her, a proper burial in the tree grove next to Derek and the mysterious blonde woman. I'd tried to make Lance Godric tell me who the hell that blonde woman was, but I hadn't even been able to get that out of him yet. But now I had a new strategy. I stepped through the mansion, beelining for the basement door. The floorboards creaked under me, and creeping fear started to ripple through my bones, the ever-present fear that Lance Godric had escaped, and he was even now watching me from the shadows, haunting the house like a bloodthirsty assassin. When I made it downstairs, I sighed in relief. He was still chained to the pipe where we'd left him on the floor, his arms behind him. His head rested awkwardly on the pipe, trying to use it as a pillow, but good fucking luck there. It was not within my heart to make his stay comfortable. He was asleep, and I could hear the gentle wheezing of his breath blowing through his messed-up windpipe. I focused hard on him, trying my best to stay absolutely still and quiet. I didn't want to wake him. Closing my eyes, I inhaled deeply. Then I was peering through his mind, wading through translucent memories and thoughts. It was a jumble of chaotic, desperate dreams and images that made no sense, and I fought to claw my way through and try to piece some of the puzzle together. There were dark staircases and shady lampposts, moonlit alleyways, and clandestine meetings with imps and humans, raging fire and choking smoke, screaming, and then, there. I grabbed hold of a memory, a fragment, a figment. I wasn't sure what it was. 2 children. My eyes widened. This memory pushed itself to the forefront of his mind, eclipsing all the others, shoving them aside in importance. This was something he thought about quite frequently, these 2 children. My brows furrowed. Standing in a dreamy dark cloud of nothingness, I took a step toward the children. They weren't mine. These kids were older, maybe 8 and 10. 2 boys, dirty blonde hair and scruffy, dirty faces. Why dirty? I thought, but then quieted myself as I heard Lance's voice groggily grunt in my ears. I had learned that when I was mind-walking inside someone's head, they could hear my spoken thoughts. In the past, Gideon had wheeled around, confused, the few times I'd said something inside his head, as if someone had spoken to him aloud, like a whisper on the wind. My focus returned to the kids. They slept on tiny cots, barely big enough for each of their small bodies. Their clothes were filthy, uniform beige, and in tatters. Brow furrowing even more, I took another step closer, and then my eyes shot open. I gasped. These were prisoners. These poor children. They were trapped, just like my own babies. Held hostage, kidnapped. My darkest realization came to me. Lance Godric had some sort of twisted child trafficking ring going on. I tried leaving right then, after warping out of Lance's mind, but seeing him sitting there, body crumpled and sleeping somewhat peacefully, I gritted my teeth and rushed forward. And my interrogation continued immediately. Thwack! My slap echoed across Lance's face, reverberating around the walls. He awoke with a yelp and a start, his voice going high. His eyes were riddled with fear. I leaned close and cupped his chin, squeezing hard so his lips made a grotesque kissy face. "Who the hell are those kids in your mind?"
What?
He gasped through his clenched lips, his eyes still roaming aimlessly as he tried to wake up fully. He blinked.
What the hell did you do, woman?
Those kids, tell me, they weren't mine. The fear on his face turned into astonishment.
You raped my mind? How dare you?
I lurched back, flinging his face away. I'd never been accused of something so horrible. It made all the anger inside me extinguish like a bonfire under a rainstorm.
I don't care who you think you are,
he growled through gritted teeth, his voice seething with rage. He leaned forward as far as the shackles would let him without tearing off his arms.
You have no right.
I faltered, backpedaling a step. My heart hammered in my chest as I tried to think of what to do. My mind was screaming, "Abort! Abort!" But I was frozen.
You know so little,
he said disgustedly.
And I'll never tell you what you want to know.
The anger came creeping back. I had to remember this wicked fuck was harboring kids somewhere, and not just mine. Unable to contain my anger any longer, I looked around the room for something sharp. I wanted to end it all now, and my rage was loose like a dragon's fire. No amount of, "but then you'll never know what happened," or, "but think of the kids," could stay my hand. I searched the basement ceaselessly, tears rolling down my cheeks as Lance Godric continued to chastise me. One of the only good things Darren Noct had done for me was trying to teach me how to control my temper. That way, I'd better be able to control other people's minds when I mind-walked. But I was beyond that.
You heartless, stupid bitch!
Lance screamed. "Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!" I wailed, and my voice echoed as I spun on him and stared into his face. The lights in his eyes went out, poof, suddenly. Something inside me had flared to life and reached out between our minds, and it caused his to shut down. He slumped to the ground immediately, in a heap, unconscious and incapacitated. My mouth dropped open. Heart still racing, I ran over and checked his pulse. Thankfully, he was still alive, or, unfortunately? What the hell did I just do?
Dawn?
A voice called from the top of the stairs. I turned, frightened. Looking up the stairs, I saw the shadow of my brother. I knew that shadow anywhere. Nothing could stay my rage in that moment, except his voice. "Giddy!" I yelled. I rushed up the stairs, tears streaming, and threw myself into his arms. "How did you know I came here?" I asked.
You're not as sneaky as you think, sis.
He wrapped me in a bear hug.
I followed you,
he added. Then he brought me out to arm's length. "Damn," I said. "I could have sworn you were asleep." He looked shamefaced.
"Oh, right. Well, I was,"
he muttered.
"But someone woke me up."
I canted my head.
"There's someone here to see you, Donnie."
Still confused, I looked past him to the plywood doorway, where a silhouette stood, elegant and thin, tall and regal, the moonlight glinting off her glorious silver hair. "Well, well, well," I said, my hands going to my hips. "If it isn't the Wicked Witch of the West herself." Headmistress Tessa Overland smirked at me.
"I prefer Glenda the Good Witch, if you must, Miss Rose."
3. I put my hands behind my back guiltily, like I was hiding something. And clearly I was, as if the opened basement door behind me wasn't a dead giveaway. Nonetheless, I tried to play dumb. What brings you to our neck of the woods, Headmistress?" The elegant powerhouse took a step into the house, practically gliding across the floor, but she was still silhouetted by the moonlight behind her, making her hard to see. I couldn't read the look on her face. Was it anger? Contempt? Pity?
"My connection with Rada was lost, Dawn. I knew something had gone wrong, but I've been busy tending to my new responsibilities."
"As headmistress, you mean?" "Right. That's gotta be grueling," I said, trying to slyly pass over the first part of her comment. As she stepped closer, I gulped and got a bit frightened. Although she exuded calmness and confidence, Tessa Overland was not someone to trifle with.
She was a total badass, as I'd seen on more than one occasion, and she could be blunt when she wanted.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?